6. Commentator at Ravenhill, Jim Neely.
It's Dungannon's strongest available side. Irish international Ronnie Carey in one wing, interprovincial Tyrone Howe on the other. And Irish B scrum half Ashley Blair is in there as well. A very strong pack with 2 internationals, the current Irish second row Paddy Johns, and in his very last season for Dungannon, the skipper is the great Willie Anderson. Queens have got a couple of experienced men up front as well, notably Gary Longwell, the Ulster and Irish University second row forward, and a more than useful number 8 in Johnny Bethel. Interesting halfbacks, Kenton Hillman, last year's Irish Schools outside half, and the ever-improving David Humphreys, who's played twice this season for Ireland A. The Queen's side is led from the middle of the field by the centre three-quarter, the zoology student, Jerry Ross. The referee for this afternoon, Mr. Brian Sterling, the primary school headmaster, just back from duty at the Hong Kong Sevens. On a glorious afternoon, David Humphreys, the Ireland A outside half, gets this first semi-final underway. An important game this for both sides. It's well taken in by Queens. Hillman, taken by McCackey, has to release. Gary Collins swallowed up by the men in blue and white. Good ball for Dungannon. Blair's kick charged down by Longwell. And the Queen's three-quarters offside. There's a man who is in great demand at the moment. Gary Longwell is contemplating playing his senior rugby elsewhere next season. Well, despite some dreadful rain yesterday, the pitch in remarkably good condition. Full marks as ever to Matt McCulloch and his ground staff here at Ravenhill. That's Hugh McCackey, the captain-elect of Dungannon. Well, Queens have done well at the line-out. And little Kenton Hillman gets that away quite splendidly. Former pupil of RBAI and Irish School scrum half last season. Dungannon vary it. That's nicely done. That's McGarry. Archer. That may just hang. Tyrone Howe to chase. Across comes Stout. That's bounced nicely for Howe. Great support. Burns. Johnny Boyd's there. And McGarry. Well, great driving by the Dungannon pack. Paddy Johns. That's inside to Jeremy Hastings, who's scored a lot of tries this season. Willie Anderson, the skipper. Willie Anderson for the line. Just held up. Ashley Blair says, has the try been given? And Brian Sterling has given the try. Well, a great try for Dungannon. Thundering drive by Jeremy Hastings. Back inside to his skipper, Willie Anderson. Anderson put the head down and went straight for the line. And it was Davy Miller who's got over for the score. Keith McGarry. And he squeezed that in quite beautifully. So Keith McGarry, who scored 291 points before this game, now takes his total to 293. So Dungannon for the big heave, I'm quite sure. Well, they've got it against the head. This is Blair, and he's in, and that's the second try for Dungannon. And it does look ominous for Queens with only 9 minutes on the clock. It was as simple as this. The strike against the head, Ashley Blair, loads of room. Howe outside him, but he chose to go himself. So it's Keith McGarry with his second conversion attempt. Well, he really is on form this afternoon. 14-0 to Dungannon, and Keith McGarry up to 295 points for the season. Queen shortened the line. Longwell couldn't take. Johnny Boyd couldn't hold. That's Humphreys. That's into space. Was he checked by Paul Archer? Play on, says the referee. Jerry Ross is going to get the try, and he just got a fingertip to it, and Queens have responded quite splendidly. What a game this is turning out to be. Well, there's a little kick through. Now, David Humphreys seemed to be checked. Referee played good advantage. Stanley McDowell, a rare fumble, and the Queen's skipper, Jerry Ross, hacked it through and had the pace and the determination and the fingernails just to get it down. So David Humphreys adds the conversion, and the students have pulled back 7 points, 14-7 to Dungannon, and we've only had 12 minutes played. Gary Leslie takes it in. Johnny Boyd helps. Blair with a few men on the narrow side. He's found a little gap, Ashley Blair. Brian Sterling watching. Dungannon really could do with this. Johnny Hastings trying to get it to Paddy Johns. Play on, says the referee. It wasn't knocked forward. Dungannon have kept the ball nicely. This is an odd chance. This is Burns to Tyrone Howe. And the Ulster winger is in for Dungannon's third. Tyrone Howe, who made such an impression on the interprovincial scene, rounded off a nice piece of forward and back play. Lovely transfer. Archer and Alan Burns timed the pass quite delightfully. And though the defence was coming across, Tyrone Howe had enough pace and enough determination to get there. Oh, Longwell got up wonderfully. Hillman. That's in play. Carey has to wait. McDowell, that wasn't a great pass. Well taken by Collins. Dungannon being forced backward. Hugh McCackey's covered well. The Queens have got the impetus. They really are shunting the men in blue and white back. How Dungannon respond? This has been a great Queen's performance up front. That's rather nasty between Gary Leslie. That really, I think, may just warrant a sending off. And the touch judge on this side, Alan Watson, has spotted that. And Gary Leslie, a former Queen's player himself, I think maybe in a bit of trouble because he's really whacked Alan Eagleson. Now that really was quite unnecessary. So he's calling number 3, and he's saying to Jeremy Hastings, or Johnny Hastings, you go away, I don't want anything to do with this. This could be a very, very severe warning. And he's asking Willie Anderson to come in. And I think he's saying to Willie Anderson, next person to interfere goes off. So Gary Leslie, head hung, I think he's very lucky to stay on the field. And the result of that unseemly fracas is that David Humphreys has got a kick at goal for Queens. Oh, he struck that with a vengeance. What a cracking kick by David Humphreys. And he's closed the gap to 9 points with 10 minutes of the first half remaining. This really was out of the top drawer. He had it teed up in that little bit of blue plastic. And if they're hitting it as well at the Masters, well, they'll be well pleased with themselves. What a great strike. Graham Purdy. Queens haven't done too badly. That's well done by Dick. Gary Longwell. Oh, that's lovely by the big fella. Humphreys. That's Stewart the dentist. Thundering run by the Queens tight head. Hillman. Humphreys. Left-footed. Absolutely spot on. Well, they have bounced back and have closed the gap to 6 points with about 7 minutes of the half remaining. Humphreys took it so quickly. What a versatile player, could drop goals with either foot. That was the left. Again, it's Blair. Queens try to whip them round. Dungannon going for the pickup. And have they come through 90 degrees? No, Blair. McGarry. Burns. McDowell in with a bit of pace. Nice pass to Howe. Now, how has he got the pace? Well, he's kept it well there. That's great support from McGarry. Johnny Boyd must be Dungannon's 4th try. And they round off the first half in considerable style. And that's as good a try as we've seen at Ravenhill all season. Well, it was finished off by McGarry. And Johnny Boyd, like a good back row forward, an open side flank forward, despite the number 6 coming in with fine support. Gary, 297 points for the season, and that brings half-time, with Dungannon having scored twice the Queen's total. It's Dungannon 26 and Queen's 13. Alan Eagleson at the back, in front of him Johnny Bethel for Queens. Gary Longwell, the target man for the students. Oh, he got right across the line, took it well. Hillman, Humphreys, Gillespie, the miss move. Collins. Alan Stout has come right round from the other wing. Jerry Ross, the skipper. Stanley McDowell. Great support from Jeremy Hastings. Great forward play by Dungannon. Willie Anderson hugs it in. McGarry, that look forward. Archer. This is Johnny Boyd. Can he get a second? Little flip inside. Hugh McCackey. Dungannon so close. The drive for the line. Paddy Johns can't hold. It's gone loose. Ashley Blair, Tyrone Howe. Surely he'll get a second. Great Queen's defence. A lot of blue shirts there. Ashley Blair. He's going for a second. And McCackey gets in. And the referee looks and gives the try, having had a second look. Hugh McCackey, formerly of Queen's and formerly of Ards, rounds it off. Well, they made perhaps a bit heavy weather of it. Willie Anderson not too far away, unselfishly turned round. Paddy Johns couldn't hold. There's McGarry, there's Blair, and Tyrone Howe found his path cut off, and sensibly he came back inside. And look at the number of blue shirts there. Well, the Queen's defence was pretty good, and Ashley Blair did well, looped round, and Hugh McCackey, who really might have had a try to start with, just squeezed in. So it's Keith McGarry from the touchline. Well, that really is a smashing kick. His fourth conversion out of 5 attempts. He's now gone up to 299 points for the season, Keith McGarry, and Dungannon are now 33-13 in the lead. Well taken in, Johnny Boyd. Nicely moved. Oh, swift transfer. This is Burns. Ronnie Carey, the international, with Humphreys to beat. He's inside him. Great support from Jeremy Hastings. Willie Anderson, the skipper. This is Alan Burns, and that's number 6 for Dungannon. Well, what a fine piece of support play by the Dungannon pack, and in particular by Jeremy Hastings, and finally Willie Anderson. Look at Anderson just flipping that ball out. Well, a centre will be proud of that pass. Now, Burns did well. He straightened things up, and there's Ronnie Carey. David Humphreys coming across well. A little check from the man who got both his caps for Ireland against New Zealand in the tour last summer. There's Jeremy Hastings, who's scored 3 tries himself in the league. Anderson, the skipper. Lovely sleight of hand by the big fella. And there's in Burns for number 6. Hugh McCackey. Well taken. Great driving by Paddy Johns. And by Anderson. Nice transfer. McCackey. Howe. That's another one. Number 7. Well, it's starting to be a bit of a procession. The second try of the day for the Ulster wing 3/4, Tyrone Howe. The pack laid it on. Blair, lovely wristy little flip. McGarry passed it on. And McCackey, I'm not sure if he meant to do that. It didn't matter. Howe was in. That's Johns. Great driving by Leslie. Blair. Paul Archer. He's run back into the Queen's defence. Boyd. This is Stanley McDowell and Ronnie Carey. And that look forward as Ronnie Carey looked for his first try. And they've got to come back. Dungannon starting to win ball at will. Ronnie Carey enjoying himself. Hasn't crossed the line. Well, he has, but it hasn't counted. Dungannon getting the shove on before the ball was put in. And it's a fairly beleaguered looking Queen's 8 at the moment. Kenton Hillman delaying the put in. Humphreys onto the left foot. Great pressure, mind you, from Ashley Blair and from Johnny Boyd. This is a young man of whom great things are expected. Well tapped back, Paddy Johns. Is this number 8 for Dungannon? It is indeed. The 24-year-old dentist rounded off a fairly straightforward movement. Nice tap at the back by Hastings. And look at Paddy John, the angle of the body perfect, low and parallel to the ground. No mistake about that. Ashley Blair with this conversion to take Dungannon to half a century. straight through. And Dungannon now 50, Queen's 13. And we're still in the third quarter of this game. Longwell takes it with no opposition whatsoever. Biggest man on the Queen's side by a distance. And Longwell's efforts have been rewarded by a penalty. Well, this is Humphreys. That's lovely by him. Oh, delightful. Well, now, this is great stuff by Humphreys. This is stout. He's got Bethel inside him. Little chip by him. And back goes Jeremy Hastings as his opposite number, Johnny Bethel, closed him down. Well, great stuff by Queens, and well done, the students. Well, look at Humphreys. There's a show. I haven't seen anybody do that since Ollie Campbell, I think, for Ireland against Wales in 1982. And look at Alan Stout. Determination all over him. Realising there was no great support, not realising perhaps Johnny Bethel was there. And well covered back by Jeremy Hastings. Well, he just enjoys his rugby. That's the Dungannon 22. That's Bethel and Hillman. Nicely done. Humphreys couldn't hold. Referee waiting for advantage. Stanley McDowell. Oh, good advantage by the referee. Now look at McDowell. That's lovely stuff. McCackey. Johns. Lovely movement. Here's Johnny Boyd. Has he got the pace for his second? This is Tyrone Howe for his third. Great try by Tyrone Howe. Well, out of the top draw, Dungannon counter-attacking, and lovely festival stuff this. It was Stanley McDowell, a good advantage played by referee Brian Sterling from the initial knock-on by David Humphreys. McDowell, Dungannon have worked on their skills, and you can see that all the way through this movement. Paddy Johns sweeping it across the body. Classic pass by him. Johnny Boyd, who's got a fair old bit of pace, but was hauled down by Gillespie. And then there was Howe, and nobody was going to get him, although Gary Collins certainly tried. Hillman gets it away. Gillespie, Humphreys, man. Collins couldn't hold. Nice little header by Ronnie Carey, and Humphreys running out of room. So they've got to come back for the scrummage. The knock forward was by Queens, and Dungannon will get the put in, and well, the heat getting to David Humphreys like everybody else down there. This is Blair. Dungannon with options on both sides. Jeremy Hastings. That's Ronnie Carey. Oh, he's outside Ross. Lovely, and Ashley Blair gets his second try of the day, and that's Dungannon's 10th. And it really is becoming very, very one-sided. Well, Jeremy Hastings, who's had a great season for Dungannon, and Ronnie Carey, just a little check, and he got outside the Queen's skipper, Jerry Ross. A handoff from a very strong, compact little player, and a perfectly timed pass, and Ashley Blair right round unopposed. Ashley Blair right between the posts, and that now takes Dungannon past the 60 mark.
And that's how it finished, 62-13 to Dungannon. And Jimmy Davidson, as the scoreline would suggest, fairly one-sided game.
Yes, but it was a very spirited performance by the Queen's side. They really contributed to the whole spectacle of the afternoon. It's very sad to see it, but this could be the demise of Queen's, because now that they're in Division 4, they're going to lose their players like Humphreys and Stewart, Longwell. Yeah. They'll go to the better sides, and they're not going to find the replacements any longer. So it's a very sad moment for all of us in Ulster, I think.
Right, a big talking point in that game was the incident involving Dungannon prop Gary Leslie cutting up rough with the Queen's flanker. I think we can see that. Your thoughts on this?
Oh, I think it's far worse than it appears. Leslie, as you see, number 3 on the Dungannon side, pulling the Dungannon pack. Longwell goes in to push him back, and there's a bit of scuffle breaks out between them. Alan Eagleson just steps in, and as my granny would say, he just gets a good slap in the bake. It's really a slap.
Yeah, it looks a sore one though. Slap or punch, should he have walked?
I'm certain that he shouldn't. Also on the screen you would have seen Trevor Salmon, who was the touch judge. He got a very good, clear picture of it. Discussed it with Brian Sterling. Sterling's an extremely experienced international referee. He gave a very strong lecture to Gary Leslie, and that was the
You
end.
think that was enough?
And it was a just reward, 3 points at the end of the day.
Right, on the credit side, Dungannon served up some great rugby, and we have a good example here of their total 15-man rugby.
Absolutely. We've seen the style with which Dungannon are capable of playing. Stanley McDowell, a lovely fullback. There's a great enterprise in his play, loves to counter-attack, breaks through, is very conscious of what he's doing, sees the support players. Hugh McGahey, who had an excellent game yesterday, on to Paddy Johns, and his exponent, the sevens exponent now, on to Johnny Boyd, whose overall performance yesterday was excellent. He makes a lot of ground, absorbs the Queen's defence. Final try-scoring pass to Tyrone Howe, who has really come on tremendously well this season. That's a hat-trick of tries for him, despite the great despairing try of Gary Collins.
Yeah, lovely move that. Overall, good stuff from Dungannon.
It was festival rugby. It was Ravenhill really got a treat yesterday. They saw two very good matches. Dungannon played extremely well. Willie Anderson's done a great job with that side.
Yeah.
All the players acknowledge
His
it.
influence is plain to be seen, isn't it?
Absolutely. You can see the skills in the players. They've also got a lot of experience. Hugh McGahey has added, the former Ards hooker, has added a lot of experience to the side. And that's been great support for Willie. So, yes, it's a very good Dungannon side.
All right, Jimmy, thank you very much. And so to our second semi-final, that's Ballymena against